Hey folks, welcome to 9.2. Overall, I'm really excited to see where we're going to land with Fury going into this new patch. We're going to touch on a few different things here today. We're going to talk about the new tier set bonuses that are coming. We're going to talk about the benefits of double legendaries because that's going to be absolutely fantastic. We're going to talk about preferred covenants. But before we jump into all that fun, we're going to touch on our builds here a little bit, and there's a couple different elements here you got to keep in mind with Fury. So if you're less familiar, tier 1 you've got sudden death, and we're going to talk first about what the raid build needs to look like. For sudden death, basically your attacks have a chance to reset the cooldown of execute, make it usable on any target. So recommending going with this for a tier 1 perspective, just ultra satisfying, especially if you're able to line this up early in a fight with a bloodlust. You'll see, and it gets recommended in some Mythic plus builds to go with fresh meat because your bloodthirst always enrages you the first time you strike a target. I don't know. 15% increased chance to trigger at enrage. Yeah, I don't know. That's not enough for me personally. That's where my personal preference is sitting at. So I'm recommending tier 1, go with sudden death. Tier 2, you won't need a Stormbolt, so stick with double time, and we'll talk about this in synergies with some really fun legendaries in a little bit. Tier 3, you've got a choice, especially if you're with Venthyr. Massacre is a great way to go to take advantage of additional condemns. Alternatively, Frenzy is a great way to passively get more haste, and the more haste we get, the happier this Fury Warrior is. So keep that in mind. Alternatively, there's a couple other ways that you can roll. Go with tier 4. You've got Warpaint or Bounding Stride. If you need the additional mobility, Bounding Stride is a great way to go. Or if you need to run out different dots or talents as they drop on you. Tier 5. For me personally, I really enjoy Cruelty. I think it's the only go-to for this tier. Tier 6. You've got a full choice here. You can go with Dragon Roar, which definitely drops and can critical strike, produce some great burst damage, or Blade Storm. And for me, who plays both Raiding and Mythic Plus, I really prefer the way that Blade Storm will complement the Signet of Tormented Kings. So I'm sticking with Blade Storm for the meantime. But we're going to talk about Legendaries here in a few minutes, and there's going to be a lot changing with 9.2. As far as tier 7 goes, anger management is the go-to and has been the go-to for the full expansion so far. But what we will start to see is now that we've got some tier bonuses coming, Reckless Abandon is going to start to get a lot more attractive. So we'll touch on that in 1 minute. Now into the fun stuff. Let's talk, because that kind of gives us what I call our raid build. You can go with a little bit more of a, I'll call it a similar build. You can stick with this effectively, especially if you're using Signet of Tormented Kings for Mythic Plus. Alternatively, you can go with Fresh Meat and Stormbolt, and yeah, this gives you additionally a little bit more uptime when you're in rage. It gives you your stun, which is always attractive. Some people like Massacre or Frenzy. It really just comes down to what your unique preference is. You are using Massacre pretty often, but it's just its ability to impact the other mobs around it kind of comes into question. Warpaint is pretty much the go-to for me. Bounding Stride gets put on the fence. Cruelty, no change. Mythic Plus, I think Blade Storm is absolutely the go-to in this situation. And then, like I said previously, Anger Management was the go-to. But now that we're talking about these tier changes, you're going to see Reckless Abandon. Every time you cast Recklessness, it's going to generate 50 Rage, massively buff Bloodthirst and Raging Blow, and we're going to talk about why that's so important here just this minute. So, with the new raid coming, Eternity's End, we are starting to see an awesome increase in terms of overall throughput for Fury Warriors. Fury Warriors are going to be one of the most desired melee classes, which is nice to say that again. What you will gain in Eternity's End with these tier bonuses, it actually comes from obtaining 2 of the 5 and then 4 of the 5 different pieces of tier gear that's out there. When you get 2 of the 5 pieces, you actually get buff on the Fury Warriors, and it basically takes your Raging Blow and increases their damage by 15%. And it basically grants an additional charge of Raging Blow. So we'll be casting Raging Blow a lot, and that's going to be really satisfying. When you get the 4-piece buff, you now have a 20% chance when you cast Raging Blow to grant Recklessness. And that ultimately is what's driving the change at Reckless Abandon here. Having the cooldown of Recklessness decrease is great, especially again if you're using Signet of Tormented Kings like yours truly. However, getting that free 50 rage and having Raging Blow effectively give us more recklessness, which in turn creates an empowered Raging Blow, which in turn gives us more recklessness, starts to become a wicked circle. And it's going to be a real fun circular reference, I think, to see us absolutely pumping out massive amounts of damage. So it's going to be a lot of fun here. The tier 2 set is going to be a real passive approach. The tier 4 set, we've seen this previously, and it's going to work just like it did in previous expansions. It's going to make a ton of fun here. It's going to get a whole bunch more fun with hack and slash and a few different other abilities that are there, and we're going to be casting Rampage all the time. So you won't see any real change to our overall playstyle, but take advantage of Reckless Abandon because it's going to cause a lot of problems. We're going to create a bunch of damage here. Now, what you will see that's a little different is those tier pieces are going to really drive up our overall throughput, but there has been a couple changes, and because of that specific tier set, we're going to start to see Necrolord actually start to become the preferred covenant in terms of maximizing your throughput. And what you'll see is that Conqueror's Banner basically causes Recklessness to double its rage that's being generated. And when you combine that with the Glory Legendary, that basically results into that circular reference with Raging Blow to become even more effective, and you're going to see it just drive up our damage even further. So we're going to be looking at like about 70% uptime for Recklessness if you do jump over to the Necrolord class. It's going to be absolutely incredibly satisfying. It's probably going to be the strongest Fury Warrior build, and Fury is going to be probably one of the strongest melee classes, unless we see like dramatic rebalancing once the spec actually opens up itself. But I'm really excited. I think Fury is going to be the go-to, absolutely, from a melee perspective, as well as amongst, we'll call it popularity within the warrior class. Arms is going to be good, don't get me wrong, but Fury is just going to be super rewarding when you see the true throughput that we're going to have both in rating and Mythic Plus. So that's my thoughts, my impression of where we are with the PTR wrapping up and the patch about to go live. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know some things that you may have liked to see me call out differently. And overall, folks, most importantly, let's have a little bit of fun. I think this might be something that doesn't necessarily get captured a whole lot. But with the changes to the Legendaries, or with the tier set, Signet of Tormented Kings will line up really well with Glory, and Glory goes on your belt. So for the Necrolord class, like we said, we're going to have a great feedback loop there with kind of a circular reference around buffing Raging Blow and increasing Recklessness and just continued damage. It's going to be really satisfying. The difference, however, in rating, we're not going to be bringing Signet of Tormented Kings. No thanks. That's not going to be the best go-to. But we're going to go with an ability that doesn't get a lot of attention. And we're probably going to go fall back to Deathmaker. So Rampage has a 30% chance to apply the Siege Breaker effect to your target for 6 seconds. So we'll still have this combined with Glory. So you'll be driving out a tremendous amount of damage here, but it'll be glory plus Deathmaker, ultimately being able to drive up 30% or more damage on your target will make a massive, massive difference. Really looking forward to seeing what Fury does after you get the set bonuses in and this starts dropping. So keep that one in mind if you're less familiar. As far as Mythic Plus, yeah, you're going to stick with Signet of Tormented Kings. For me, I'm going to probably stick with the Elysian Might if I stay with the Kyrian Covenant. Alternatively, Nature's Fury, Night Fae, and Kyrian are going to be your top two classes as we look at what 9.2 brings us. So again, you're going to make Deathmaker if you're along with Necrolord, if you're going with a high-end progression rating. If you're not, if you're just a chillin' villain like me who likes a casual 15 every now and then, yeah, stick with either Kyrian or go Night Fae and Signet of Tormented Kings for Mythic Plus, and it'll be really rewarding. You'll be treated well for this. That's all I got for you, folks. Hope Mythic Plus and rating treat you well. I'm really excited. I'm definitely going to be pushing rating again to take advantage of the tier bonuses. But let me know your thoughts, impressions, or if there's anything here that I missed or you think is misrepresented. And I will do my best to do better next time. Alright, thanks for watching. Peace.